checking us out. Please don't forget to visit our website for more details about our show. And follow us on social media. Visit teeningup.com for more information. Here's today's episode.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Teening Up. This is the very first episode of this new show. We named it like that for a reason, and we'll maybe go into that in future episodes. Today, we have a very special guest. Well, let me introduce the panel first, right? Who's here? My name is Christian, and then we have...
I'm Ariel.
And then we have...
My name is Addison Wally. What's up?
All right, perfect. Yeah, so we actually had a plan on how we were going to do this very first episode, and we were blessed to have our friend Addison here as well. And actually our neighbor, so he lives very close to us. So my daughter asked him if he can join us, and he said yes, so that's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, stoked to be here. Thank you for the invite.
I love it. We love having you here. So this show is about teen issues, teen life. You know, a lot of the different things that happened during your teen years, right? And there's a lot of beautiful things, a lot of challenging stuff, a lot of interesting things that happen as well, right? So today we're going to be talking a lot about that. But in this particular episode, we're going to be talking about something fun, I guess, for some people, and then challenging for others, which is prom, right? Is a party, right? What's prom? Well, who can tell me what prom is?
Well, prom is kind of just this big dance where it's pretty formal. People get to dress up in nice clothes, and you kind of just go have fun. You party, you dance, you eat dinner, and it's this big like memory that you make as a teenager.
Okay, so it's a party for teenagers, basically.
Yes.
Okay. What is your opinion about prom there, Addie?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great. Again, I think if you kind of want to check all the boxes of what people consider the typical high school experience, I think prom is a very important aspect of that. And there are many benefits to just the social life and the ability to grow in your social battery before you get to a bigger level, such as college, you know, when the people are just, you're getting more mature and you are, you know, taking risks that are a lot riskier in your life. I think prom is a great way to kind of take that step into adulthood, learning different, you know, classical, just like old traditions of, you know, being able to ask a woman to dance, ask a woman to, you know, take you on that journey. And it's a great, you know, step into adulthood. It's a good, you know, experience that is part of the high school experience. I think if that's what you're going after, then it's a good, you know, checklist part of that.
I love what you mentioned, because I feel like it sounds to me like prom is really preparing you for adulthood too, in many different areas. Just something as simple as asking a girl to dance, right? I mean, that's on its own is challenging. But why do you guys think prom is such a big deal?
Well, I think it's because it's like Addie said, the step one, obviously into adulthood, but it's also like this one moment. There's been so many generations that remember their prom, and it's been this one moment that everyone looks forward to, and everyone does not want to miss it. And it's this way to like make these memories with your friends, and it's kind of a way to end the year, especially because it happens closer towards the end of, especially junior and senior year. You're like last year's of high school, you're ready to move on after that, and it's a great way to like end on a high note and make sure that you're saying like the proper goodbye to people and just leave you with a good experience.
That's good. What do you think, Addie? Why is it such a big deal?
Well, for me personally, I am a younger child, and being a younger child, you always look up to your older sibling. And so for me, whenever my older sister got to drive, I wanted to drive. And whenever she got to, you know, drive herself to school or, you know, go hang out with friends and take herself places, I wanted that level of, you know, maturity, obviously without the responsibility that comes with it. But you're always chasing that next level of maturity. She gets a phone, you want a phone, you know, you want to be in that, you want to grow, you know, with her, even if you're not ready for that. And so I think that prom is another level of like personal maturity and growing. And I think it is, if you're always looking up to people that are older than you, and, you know, everybody wants that next level of maturity. And so it can kind of make you mentally feel like you're growing and taking that step.
That's true. Now, do you guys think that prom can be stressful, even the process to get to it, not prom itself, but the whole process. Can it be stressful, and why?
Definitely think it could be stressful. Actually, the other day, my friends were talking about it, and one of them was stressing out because she got invited to go to two different girl groups, and they're all planning each group, like, are they going to meet up at a house to get ready before they go? And she's stressing out because it's like, okay, I'm getting two different plans. I still haven't committed to one or the other yet, and they all wanted to go with their group, and everyone's trying to discuss where to meet, who's gonna host like the getting ready part at their house, what they're gonna wear. One of my other friends was stressing out because her dress hadn't come yet and she's not sure if she's even going to get it in time. And it's like the dream dress she wants to wear. And as a girl, those are like important things. You want to look the best possible at your prom. And then choosing makeup or what kind of hairstyle you want, or, even perfumes, like all these different things, as a girl. And it's stressful to figure it all out. If you're going with a date, if you're not going with a date, if you're going with a friend, if so, what friend, if you're going with a girl group, and like, who are you going to plan it with? So it can definitely be stressful in a lot of ways.
Addie, you've been to a few dances already, and if you look back at the dances that you've been at, those school dances, was there anything that stressed you out about it?
I mean, personally, I think stress is what you make of it. I think that you can, obviously, there are things that are going to be stressful in life, but you can always choose to stress about them. One thing being like, promposals are so big now. And it became when, used to, you would go up to him and be like, hey, would you go to prom with me?
Can you explain
And
what that is?
of course, right. So a promposal, pretty obvious. It's a prom proposal. And used to, that would be you go up to a girl and you're like, hey, would you go to prom with me? And she'd be like, sure, yeah. And it's a happy moment. Now you have to show up in a limo. You have to have a sign. You have to make it all personal and have a funny joke, right? And I mean, I think that is adding extra levels of stress that don't need to be there. And I personally think that if you are going to prom with someone to grow in a relationship with them, then it's more than a flashy sign and posting it on Instagram. And I think that that's when it becomes stressful, whenever it becomes all those added steps. It's like gender reveal parties, used to, you would go around and tell your friends what gender your child is. And now there are parties and balloons and cakes and all these things. And I mean, that would be stressful, planning a gender reveal party. But if you don't have a gender reveal party, it's not stressful. And I think it's a similar thing. But there is always going to be a level of stress, right? Especially if there is a more intimate, relationship going on within that prom and you just are taking a step of, boldness, then yes, it's going to be stressful for sure.
I think that is something very important for a girl, right? I mean, and I don't know, you mentioned that it may not be the most important thing, or it shouldn't be like that, or maybe I am misunderstanding what you're saying, but let's see it from a girl's perspective. What do you think, Ariel? Do you think that is a very important thing to do, and does it have to be very elaborate, or what do you think about that?
I think it depends, one, on the girl and their expectations, one, and two, depends on if you really like the girl, and then also just the more personal thoughts put into it. Because, for example, I was asked to a dance a couple years back for homecoming, and the guy appeared at my door with a sign.
Yeah, I remember. I was out there with my shotgun and waiting for it.
Okay, no, you weren't, actually. You're out of town.
Just kidding.
Thankfully. Thankfully. But anyway, so he showed up to my door, and all he had was a sign that was, I play soccer. So he did a funny pun that was relative to me, right? Playing soccer. And it said, it's my goal to take you to Hoko. And it was funny, And so later, I found out that he actually didn't make the sign because he has no artistic abilities. So we had a friend help him who could draw it out, and write it, but he had the idea and everything behind it.
Love it.
And, I appreciate that. Like, maybe he didn't make it. And you know what? He also, some of my friends got balloons or candy or this gift basket or whatever, and he didn't have any of that. He just had the sign with the really sweet, funny, tagline. And honestly, I felt like really happy just to be asked. And it was nothing elaborate compared to some other things that other friends have had. But I love the fact that he put the thought behind it. Because, we're not all artistic, right? I mean, definitely you struggle in those areas. But I love that he still made the effort. So, like, he thought of, okay, who can I find that's good at that stuff? So, like, that I can tell them what I want for it and they can help me make it. So the fact that it was more personal makes a big difference. Versus you could have big elaborate setting with, I don't know, balloons and glitter or whatever. But if there's, like, it's just to show off or just to make that post on
Mm,
Instagram or whatever, then it's like, what's the point?
yeah, and I love what Addie was saying. I think that's what you were saying, Addie. That is more about that meaningful action, right? And I don't know if you want to expand on that a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. No, I mean, I obviously it's so different between a guy and a girl on how what you expect and what you think about just the I guess experience of like the whole thing. But I do think it's important to make it personal, right? I think that is something that is, super important in not just promposal, but throughout the whole experience, right? You want it to
Mm,
be because especially if you're going to prom with somebody, you want that to be an experience that's going to, allow you to grow closer to one another, right? And so I think that if somebody is putting forth the effort, just like how you would put forth the effort to dress nice, people don't show up to prom in, sneakers and a t-shirt, right? You also want to put forth just the same amount of effort for the person you're going with, right? And so I think that's super important to make it personal, and it'll mean a lot more and just make the experience a lot better when they know that you've actually taken the time for them, and you didn't make the sign and then the first person rejected you, and so you did the same thing for another person, like they know that it's for them.
okay, so let's talk about rejection there for a little bit because you just mentioned it. I think about when I was young, right? It's not that long ago, guys. Not that long ago.
Sure, sure.
Well, so what do you guys think happens when what could cause a girl to reject an invitation from a guy?
um, there could be a number of reasons. Um, if we're gonna be honest here, sometimes it's based on appearance or rumors you've heard or just not even knowing how to handle the situation. If you're not used to being asked to to go to prom or to dance or whatever it is, like you just don't know what to say. So the first thing that comes out of your mind just what gets blurted out. Or it could be you just don't like the guy. There's just a lot of those kind of factors. Like sometimes like you just don't want to dance with anybody. Maybe you just don't even you just wanna hang out with your friends and that's it, and your focus is not to be with guys, or sometimes you're just nervous, so you say no just to save yourself from being awkward or doing something wrong, or sometimes even you might have an opinion on the guy that may or may not be true, and so to, like, keep your distance, and maybe that's why you would say no.
Addie, what do you think about rejection? Have you ever experienced that yourself?
Yes,
Okay.
definitely. So I think rejection is so unbelievably important.
Mm,
And sorry, I need to speak into the mic. I think rejection is so important. It's wonderful. It's great. It sucks, but it's wonderful because no matter what, you're going to experience rejection. And it can look in many different forms. You could be rejected by a girl. You could be rejected from a job offer. You could be trying to sell something and get rejected. I mean, it's super important, right? And so I think that being able to take a no is so important because being able to be rejected is the first step of knowing how to better yourself and how to make a different approach, right? And so I think personally, if you know how to take a rejection correctly, you'll grow. And maybe you don't take a rejection greatly and you take it to heart and you're still going to grow, but it's going to hurt a lot more. But no matter what, rejection is always a good thing because it can make you greater, right? And it'll make you stronger in the end. And so I think that's important to be able to take into account that, today's loss is tomorrow's treasure and it'll make you grow.
yeah, I love that outlook. I love it. It's such a great and important lesson in life that will help you in a lot of different things that you do, right? Like you mentioned a job, maybe you get rejected for a job, maybe you get rejected for many other reasons, right? But I think there's a lot of learning that goes with that. And if I'm applying for a job, I'm a teenager and I apply and I get rejected, why? What happened? Is there anything that I can do better so that I don't get rejected for that job next time? And then, like you mentioned, there's an opportunity, in the future. What do you think about rejection, Ariel?
I think a lot of the times why people fear rejection is because they don't wanna be disliked, especially as a teenager. For a lot of teenagers, you wanna like blend with the crowd, you wanna find your clique, you wanna have a lot of things in common, and to like be rejected makes you kind of feel sometimes insecure about yourself. Because there's two ways you could take it. You could take it how it could build you up and how you can improve, or what you maybe you did wrong in the good sense, like okay, like how can I be a better person? Or you could also take it as like, oh, like no one likes me, or I feel insecure, or I'm afraid to ask again to someone else because I'll be rejected again. But I think rejection is important as well. And even as a girl, sometimes you need to put yourself out there and be the first to strike conversation, even with other people or to make friends. Like, and I think rejection does definitely help build you up if you choose to handle it in the correct way.
So now we're talking about prom here. So let's say uh, a boy successfully asked a girl to go with him to prom, and the girl said yes. All right, perfect. So everybody's happy, everybody's excited. Now here comes the actual party, right? The actual event. What do you guys think about going to prom with friends versus a boyfriend or a girlfriend? What do you guys think about that dynamic? I want to hear you guys, from your perspective.
Yeah. I think going with friends versus a date obviously is going to be a very different experience. It's even just going with a date that's your boyfriend or a date that's your friend and you're good friends with them. I had the experience of going with a friend and it was a good experience. I think sometimes it still feels a little awkward at times because it's like, I know we're friends, but it's still like, but if you're really good friends and you have no issues, it should be like a great experience because you can still respect each other's space. You can still go hang out with your group or whatever. And then you guys can come back and hang out and have more fun and it's less stress. But I think it's definitely always fun to go with girlfriends because I've also had that. And there's definitely no stress at all because you're with your girlfriends, you know you're gonna be with them all the time and you're gonna have fun because you feel more like confident to be yourself around them because you already know them and you've established that.
So I love that. So you're saying that it's okay for a girl to still go to prom, even if the girl is not asked by a boy. Just go with your girlfriends.
Oh yeah, I've definitely heard from other people who have already had that experience of going to prom. And a lot of people who I've known who have already been maybe were in a relationship at prom or just were in a relationship and they would tell me like, go with girlfriends. It's so fun. Obviously, if you have a boyfriend or girlfriend, totally go with them, right? I mean, that's part of the experience. But if you're stressing out about you have to have a date, you really don't. It's a social norm to have a date. But if it's just going to add more stress and that's
Mm.
what you're going to remember from it, then you shouldn't have to worry about it. Going with friends, people who have gone with friends that I've known had so much fun. There's less stress. You're not worrying about, I have to stay with my date all the time, or, oh, what is he going to think if I do this or this? Or what is she going to think if I do this or this, right? Like with your friends, they know your goofy self or your great self, and they're going to
Mm.
have that fun with you because they can make it even more fun. They're going to like play with you as well whenever
Mhm.
you're joking or whenever you're just having this great time. And you just feel so much more free and you can actually enjoy the experience.
And can I add something to that? I
Yeah,
feel
please go
like
ahead.
Oh, yeah.
it's going to be great whenever you eventually break up with your high school girlfriend and then you hate the remembrance of that prom
Oh, yeah.
experience. It is so much better to be able to enjoy that and not loathe it in the future. And I mean, I think it's really important to be able to look back on experiences with, ex-girlfriends or
Mhm.
ex-boyfriends and not hate it and understand that
Yeah.
it still made you better. But in the end, you're gonna look at photos,
Oh, yeah.
and maybe that ex did you a little wrong, and that memory of prom is not going to be so sweet. So I think
Oh,
that is
yeah.
so
Mm.
so nice to be able to, it's a risk, but I mean it's a risk that's good. Everybody goes through it, and it's
Yeah.
wonderful. But there is benefit into
Yeah.
just going with friends because you're never gonna look that experience
Oh, yeah.
down or delete that Instagram post.
And
Mm.
definitely like if you do want to date, definitely go with a friend. Like
Mm.
maybe ask your best guy friend, your best girlfriend. Because if you do really want that date and you want that someone to dance with or whatever, it's definitely going to still be less stressful because you still, like I said, you kind of already have that basis of knowing each other and knowing all your quirks. And you can still have like the date experience without having the added stresses of an actual relationship.
Okay, that's very interesting because if you think about the actual event, right? What if you already brought your girlfriend or your boyfriend, right, to prom, and you're already there? You think that it'll be better to spend time as a group with all your friends and sure your boyfriend or girlfriend, and not just be apart from all your friends because you are with your boyfriend or girlfriend and now you have to spend time with that person the whole event and now you're missing out on having fun with everybody and building those memories, right? So it sounds like to me it sounds like that would be a much better way to enjoy that time,
Yeah.
where sure you can still go with your boyfriend or girlfriend to prom, but now make sure you spend time with everybody because it looks like what I've heard and what I've seen when I used to go to those kind of parties as well is that a lot of the times it was those two people just secluded, and sometimes they wouldn't even have fun because they will be fighting or they will be arguing, and
Yeah.
what do you guys think about that?
Addie, you can start with that.
Oh, that's a rough topic. I'm not gonna
Oh,
lie.
okay.
So basically, I'm homeschooled, right? And I dated a girl that was in public school, and so I went to the public school dance, and I did not know anybody there. And so I think it's very different if you have your set of girlfriends and he has his set of boyfriends, and he goes to his boyfriends, you go to your girlfriends for a while. That is a very different thing than going to your girlfriends and your boy not having any boyfriends that he doesn't know at that school. And so then he has to figure out what to do with an hour and a half of his time
Oh my god.
in a gymnasium with people he doesn't know. That is a totally different experience and not one that's fun to go through. So
Okay,
that's
that's
Yeah.
interesting. That's
that's
perspective.
my
Because I mean, sometimes maybe there's friends that or boyfriend and girlfriend that go to different schools,
Oh yeah.
right? And if you get invited to that prom, it's like, okay, should you go or not? Like, would it all depend on the kind of relationship that you have with that person? If it's a solid relationship, would then you think it'll be a much better experience versus if you kind of are just starting, And what do you guys think about that?
I definitely think a relationship has to have a lot of trust in it. And also just kind of room to breathe. Because I had a friend who was dating someone who wanted to be with her like all the time. Like she had to always be by him. They always went to a dance together. They're stuck together. Like, and it would overwhelm her because she had a hard time actually being able to go and hang out with her friends because he wanted to be with her all the time. And then I have this other friend who's in a relationship right now, and they both agree. Like, we had a dance and they went together, obviously. And he would go with his friends, she would go with her friends, and we were all having fun. She's still making those memories, and he is too. But then when like a slow song would come on, and they would still spend time together, and they would go dance. Or when they ate dinner, they would go obviously sit together and eat with their other friends, and talk to each other and still spend time with each other. So I think that just if you have a good relationship with a lot of trust and knowing that your girlfriend or boyfriend, they can go hang out with their friends and give them kind of space too, because that's important. Obviously, you want to be with them as much as you can, but also they want to also be with the other friends that they've had relationships with as well, right? So I think just establishing that will definitely give you a better experience, and also not completely forgetting about them either, because
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna make them, especially like in Addie's circumstance, when it's like you're kind of not in a familiar setting. And I mean, in those times, you might want to help them a little bit, so like that, or introduce them to people, or help them to like get involved, because otherwise, it really does feel uncomfortable.
So it's important to be considerate, right? Of the person that you're bringing, and that is another lesson that you can take with you throughout life, and
Mhm.
everything that you do. Because there's many times that maybe you're in places where you feel very comfortable, but you noticed others that aren't as comfortable as you.
Mhm.
I think understanding that and being considerate. But in this case, when you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend that you bring into this kind of event, and yes, you're very comfortable with the environment because you know everybody there, but how does the other person feel? So that being considerate of the other person is highly important,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, definitely
Mm,
makes a difference.
Okay,
interesting.
what about you? You went to prom, right?
Oh my goodness.
You went
Okay.
to prom, right?
Yeah, actually.
I mean,
let's hear this.
It might have been a couple years ago, but what was that like?
Yeah, it was probably a couple years ago, actually.
I think a little more than
Like
a
2 or
couple,
3?
couple decades, maybe.
Okay, so here's the thing. For those who are listening to this show and maybe watching us too, my experience is a little bit different because I was not born in this country, in this beautiful, awesome country, right? That now I am a citizen of. I was actually born in Mexico, right? So
Yep.
prom wasn't we didn't have like an official prom, event. We had a lot of parties. We loved to party, right?
Oh
So
yeah.
high school in Mexico was very different. In fact, high school in Mexico was almost like college, where you chose to go or not to go. Once you were there, the gates were wide open, so you could go out at any time and come in. And if you didn't want to go to the class, you didn't have to go to the class. Of course, you will fail the class, right?
Yeah.
Prom was very different for me. However, I wasn't a shy guy.
Yeah.
I didn't mind asking. I didn't mind getting rejected. And I think it was to the point of Addie that, yeah, okay, so you rejected me, so what? Maybe I can have somebody else to go with me,
Yeah.
and I will move on. But you know what? Not a lot of people are like that, right? There's probably other kids that will have a hard time with that. That will probably feel rejection and will feel really, really bad about it, and will feel sad, will feel just stressed out, will feel just all these different emotions and feelings. And we can dive into what do we do about that, right? I think for those who are listening, we are believers, right? We believe in Christ and He is our Lord and Savior, right? And so as believers, we know who our God is and we know how He has been with us in those situations, right? But not everybody has that opportunity, right? There are other kids that maybe don't know God the way we know Him, right?
Mhm.
And so I think, what do you guys think we should do when we see a friend that is struggling with rejection? How can we help somebody like that?
I think telling them first, like they should be confident in themselves. Cause I think also you lack that confidence of almost sometimes it's like, am I good enough to like ask this person or to get this job or whatever the circumstances? And definitely build them up and help them recognize their strengths so they can hone in on that and then feel more confident because they know what they're good at and they know how they can be better and then help them acknowledge their weaknesses and be honest because you also want to be honest with your friends, and obviously you want to do it in the best way possible and being honest, but helping them acknowledge their weaknesses as well will help them build up and feel more confident as you're guiding with them and keep like affirming them with the word and keep affirming them with what like the Bible says and what they're what like God says about them as well and telling them that they are worth what it like they want, and just keep being there for them because they're gonna have their days, right, when they may not feel so great, but they're gonna have their days where they feel great. But even when it's hard, you don't want to, you know, give up or kind of just push away. You want to stick with them through the good, through the bad, through the boring. And I think that really will help them change because I've had that experience with a friend, just helping them be more confident, and they've become a lot more confident. And I'm really proud and happy to see their beautiful personality that they already had at the beginning
Yeah.
finally have the courage to come out. And you know what? People love her. She's great. And I love her. And I think she's amazing. And maybe that's a little biased opinion, but you know what? She's made more friends. She's had more courage to do things, more courage to speak up, to talk, and she's much more bubbly and extroverted. And it's beautiful to see that when you take the time. And she's helped me too. She's helped me to learn to listen and just even when you're being rejected, you need to learn not to care so much
Mm.
because people care too much about what other people think. But when you stop caring about what other people think, it's the most freeing thing.
So it's about caring about what God thinks of you rather than what
Exactly.
other people think of you.
Yes. Yes.
That's good.
Definitely.
What do you think, Addie?
I think it is so important. And one thing that I struggled with was it's so important to know what you put your identity in. And that is something that I like had to work on a long time because I think one thing about like relationships, it is no matter what, it's so important to know where your identity is because a rejection, if your identity is not firm, like in God and how God sees you and how you should be seeing yourself, if somebody rejects you because they don't see you how God sees you, then your identity and how you see yourself is based on how they see you, right?
Mm.
And so I think that it is such a up and down thing of I love myself and I hate myself. I love myself. I hate myself. If you base your identity on what other people think about you, because in one instance, your girlfriend might be hyping you up. And then in another instance, you're getting rejected. And so I think unless you have a strong identity in how you can view yourself and how God, sees us as his children who are fearfully and wonderfully made, it's important to be able to just ensure that you're placing your identity not in how other people see you because that is just not a firm foundation at all.
Do you guys think social media has affected a lot of that, the view on how people see you? You think that
Oh,
has a
yeah.
lot to do with it or no?
Oh, definitely 100%. Especially nowadays with, Gen Z and then the generations after that. obviously so many people have a phone now. So many people have social media, even at the youngest age. Like you could be in middle school and you have social media. You could even be some elementary kids have social media. It definitely plays a big role because on there it's like anybody could be your friend and add you, and just because based on your looks or based on your personality or whatever persona you created, it might not even be a real person. It might not be who they actually are. But once you can be on a screen, post things and add effects and add special music and add all these touch ups that just enhance it, definitely changes your image and definitely affects you. If I don't have this picture a certain way, like I usually do, like they're not gonna like me anymore. Or
Mm.
it's like this feeling of like you have to read the comments. What are they saying? How do they feel about me? And then you read all these bad comments of like, oh, like they hate me. Okay, what can I do to make them like me more? And it just kind of messes with your brain. Because then not only do you get affected by the screen, you then apply that outside. Because like even if you become a celebrity on social media, or
Mm-hmm.
people are trying to find ways to get rich on social media, or just finding ways to become popular because maybe they don't feel popular at school. So they
Mm-hmm.
go to social media so I can feel loved and popular. And then maybe then someone criticizes me on social media and then it makes me feel low for a while. And then now I have to go and find something else that makes me even more popular to gain all of these fans and all these people who you don't even know
Mm-hmm.
to like you. But you don't even know them and they really don't know you either.
True. Right.
Yeah.
Right. What do you think, Addie, about social media?
Yeah, so that is a crazy topic. And I think social media can be totally different depending on how you use it. Sorry, I really need talking to the mic.
Thank you.
But I think social media can have a totally different experience on how you're trying to use it. For me personally, social media is all about growing my personal brand, right? And so I think of it as I am not trying to look good for random people that I don't know. I'm trying to look good for sponsors. I'm trying to look good for teams, things like that.
Tell us what you do, so that way everybody that's listening knows what you're working on. That
Dare Camp Racing.
there you go,
Dare
representing.
Camp Racing. It is a cross country mountain biking racing team. It is a nonprofit team founded based out of Alabama, and we have athletes all over the nation. It is all about the development of young athletes into not only better bikers and racers, but also better humans. And it is a Christ-based team, which is very uncommon in the sport of cycling. And so it's a wonderful thing to be a part of. So we have great mentors, we have great coaches who are also professional racers, and it is a development pathway from junior ranks all the way to the professional racing league. And I love it. It's been a wonderful part of my growth in Christ as well as in sport and as a human. So I'm very thankful for it.
I love it. I love it. So I love what you're saying. So your focus in social media is a little bit different than the usual, teenager.
Right.
Your focus right now is because you're an athlete, you're doing sports, you are building your brand as an athlete and
Right.
you're working on that, and see, I play sports, I play soccer mainly, right? My whole life. And I'm passionate about soccer. I think that doing a sport as a teenager is so, so important. And perhaps this is a really good episode for maybe future episodes where hopefully you can come and visit us again, Addie.
I'd love to.
Because we'll love to talk about sports and for teens. And Ariel, you play soccer too.
Yeah.
So, but I think that really helps with the way you view social media, right? So
Mhm.
now you're not so worried about what many other teens may be worried about, which is your image and what are they going to think about me? What are the comments saying? It's more about running a business as a brand, because you are your own brand and you're trying to get out there and grow in your sport and such. So I think it really is important for people to start thinking of social media like that, like a tool that you can use to help in other areas that you're doing. And I don't know, what do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I love that perspective of it for sure. I think so. Like, it's stressful though. I mean, it's still
Yeah.
the same. It's stressful in its own way. Today, I sent 4 emails to 4 different companies about sponsorship applications, things like that, trying to get on teams, stuff like that. And it is a ever evolving want of, okay, I want more followers, and this company is not going to look at me until I get so many followers. And
Mm.
then the thing is, when you get into the content creator side of it, rather than having your own personal account, it becomes, oh my gosh, I didn't get as many views on this account, right? And even though half of those views are from bot accounts in India or China, you still want to see that number of views, right? And so, I mean, it is a totally weird thing because you can spend Instagram is my personal use of social media, just because of about growing my personal brand and reaching out. It's the best way to reach out to companies. However, the algorithm can so mess you up because I will spend 3 hours on a video and it'll get a couple thousand views,
Mm-hmm.
and I can spend 15 minutes on a horrible video. And if I post it at a better time of day, it gets 100,000 views. And so it is a totally different type of stress of, okay, I'm supposed to be doing school right now. But I have to make sure I post this at 12 p.m. exactly for it to get the maximum amount of views. And so then, you're not doing your school correctly. And there's just like another added stress of, okay, I'm not, and you also have to think, you're not caring about what your friends think of you. You're caring about what a multi-million dollar company thinks of you, who can invest in you and change your future. Right. And so there is a totally different, but equally as important level of stress within that, I think. But I love it because it's grown me, and allowed me to reach new teams, right? My team, I found, through social media, and there's just so many great things that you can do, as well as, I think a big thing that we don't do enough on social media is sharing Christ. And so what I try to do is I try to get followers that are in the cycling scene, which is not very Christ oriented right now in the USA. And I try to bring Christ into mountain biking. I explain like, hey guys, like, um, that was a great race, everybody. Like, I'm so thankful God kept us safe for that race. And something that small of just thank you, God, for keeping us safe, putting that on a post. People don't even know about that, but they're reading about it. They're like, okay. And, maybe if you can get fitness and you can get fast and get that, first place, and you can dedicate that first place to God, people who are looking up to you, because you will have people that look up to you, as you get better, they will be like, wow, like this man, is doing very well. I want to do as well as him. And he, loves God. What is that? And so it's a good way to, I think, as you get more followers and get more fame, you need to know what to do with it. And it can be a wonderful thing to share the love and the word of God if you take time to do that.
Now, for everybody that's listening here, don't forget to follow Addie. Addie, what's your ads on Insta?
Addison _ Watley .xc. So addisonwatley.xc should pop up, and yeah, that's what I do. So please give it a follow. I appreciate that.
There you go. And I'll make sure to share his link here on the show's description, the show notes, and website. Which, by the way, we have a website now. We have a now. Well, it's the first episode, right? So we have a website now, starting the episode. So that's great. So it's teeningup.com, and we're gonna be posting episodes there, the show notes, and everything. So awesome. That's great perspective. All right. Well, why don't you guys give us a little bit of closing remarks here? What are your closing thoughts as we close out today's episode?
I just think, obviously, since the kind of main topic was prom and then subtopic was social media, just a reminder that if you maybe already had your prom or your prom's coming up, don't stress out about things that maybe you don't even need it originally. Like, find that friend group, or find that maybe best friend to go with you, or or if you have a boyfriend or girlfriend, like, make sure you discuss obviously those boundaries and just the part of having still fun and being relaxed and really enjoying each other and your friends. And about social media, just be careful with your goals in it, because obviously it has a lot of influence on people who do use it, and try your best to use it for the best way possible.
Awesome. Thank you. Addie?
Yeah, I think what you said is so important. Just don't stress. Like, and it's so easy to say, so hard to do, but it's a dance. You're going to have fun with people that you love. Like, go enjoy it and don't stress about it. And it's going to make the experience so much better. And so, yeah, I mean, I just think, like, make sure that if you're going to a fun dance, that you're having fun, right? And that you're putting, okay, sorry, one more topic actually that I want to talk about, and we can cut it out if you don't want to. But one thing, so the one dance that I went to, one thing that I want to talk about is, I feel like dances as a Christian are so hard because music. And I feel like the music that they play, especially at public school dances, are horrible. And the whole time I was just there and I was like, wow, how are they even allowed to play this? Like, this is horrible.
And people sing along too.
And I know, and I'm just not a fan of that kind of music personally. And it's so hard to, just have fun in a night with your friends while you're being surrounded by so much what seems like just satanic, horrible music. And that is not a old man perspective of, I agree, not all kind of, popular music is satanic, but
Yes.
really some of that music was so horrible that
Oh,
I was sitting in a
100%.
gymnasium listening to, and I was like,
Yeah.
wow, like I don't want this filling my head. I don't want to go to bed with this song stuck in my head. And that's one thing that it was like kind of rough. And maybe we could just talk about that another day. But
love it.
music is
Yeah.
such an influential thing, and it can be so great, but it can also be so horrible. And I commonly find myself like, if I have a really good song, like a worship song that I love, rarely do I find myself randomly singing that song in my head, but maybe a song that I found on Instagram that's really not good.
Yeah.
I'll find myself subconsciously thinking about that. And I'm like,
Mhm.
wow, like I need to really shift my focus. And that's one thing that I feel like is a big issue with dances, is like the music in that setting.
Yeah.
Thank you for mentioning that. In fact, in future episodes, I was talking to Ariel. She actually did a really cool research on music,
Yeah, I did.
right? So we were thinking about having an episode focused on that area, and we can certainly expand on it, because I think it's a very important aspect of life, having music around us, and how music affect us in a positive or negative way. Great points there. Well,
Yeah.
I think we got here to the end of the episode, and very first episode, it went awesome.
Yeah.
I love that we had Addie here with us in our very first
Yeah,
episode.
thanks for coming.
Thank you for inviting me. Seriously, it's
Yeah,
a
man.
pleasure.
Don't forget to follow him. Remember, he's doing a lot of really cool things with that team there. His Christ focus, and is a great athlete. So make sure to do that. Make sure also to follow us, Teaming Up. We're actually on Insta, on X, on TikTok, and all.
You'll also find where we are on our website as well.
That's right, thinkingup.com, and you'll find us there as well. So thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you our guests and my co-host Ariel.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for listening and giving us the chance to talk to you about teen life and what we go through, whether it's boring or fun or frustrating. And we appreciate you guys listening in.
All right, see you on the next one.
Bye, guys. Thanks so much for checking us out. Please don't forget to visit our website for more details about our show. And follow us on social media. Visit teeningup.com for more information.